And I've come to the point where I'll be reading you the latest installment of Ezekiel Kralen's ongoing story about the two little dogs. This one is titled Kismet's Good Graces. Ezekiel Kralen wrote, email texting correspondence, July 9th, 2023. Texting with Watson, July 9th. Me. Also, I am concerned over Marshall and Carlita, who are in a very bad way right now. Here is the audio clip from his last show. Listen and you'll understand. Watson. Yes, he mentions their troubles in his weekly Saturday listserv message. He and I commiserated via email earlier today. Me. Good to know. My concern has nothing to do with the boon he grants me by narrating my tales, but because he's an excellent person in his own right and his show is equally superb. I haven't been able to get to either List Digest for a couple of days now, thanks to Deke, mostly self-created mayhem. Jesus Christ, it's raining crisis in both our worlds. Watson. Raining catastrophes and dogmas. Me. Picture of grumpy dog inserted here. This shit sucks. I had the dogs over last night, date July 9th, evening. Watson wrote, this would have been a harrowingly successful suspenseful story if I didn't know in advance via the cheery pictures that it had a happy ending. I replied, ha, you've been spared by Kismet's good graces. All my future readers, however, will not be so lucky. I'll be whipping them into sweaty submission on a frequent basis, offering them balm in a soothing follow-up some minutes, hours, or days later. Can't let these wounds completely heal before the inevitable brilliant and benevolent Brindlekin Tales opus comes to a conclusion. Glob knows when that will be, but signs indicate very soon, by year's end at the latest. Watson wrote, of course, Deke had to show up 3 minutes after you successfully got the hounds upstairs with no muss, fuss, or barking. I replied, it's actually a good sign that my doggy scenarios are scripted, with Deke one of my chief bodhisattva guardians, providing yet another clue that he is indeed such a one, thanks to the precise timing, as if he intentionally held off from returning until I decided to bring them upstairs. Think about it, Watson. Had he shown up any time later, even just a delay of 5 or 10 minutes, the impact would have been seriously tarnished. Watson wrote, but it was a great little rehearsal. Now you know you can get them in there without a ruckus. I replied, a prelude for better things to come. Too much ecstasy in a compressed period of time can turn one into a gibbering fool, though some would say I'm already there and have been for decades. Watson wrote, getting them downstairs in the AM will be a bit of a challenge, but carrying them one by one might be the answer, as it is with getting them upstairs. I replied, that is the answer, no two ways about it. I was actually planning to start by having them overnights only, say, well after the workers quit for the day, including our maintenance man Victor and temporary manager Cortez, but no, of course Deke had to show up the very next morning and ask me to watch the dogs, not ever giving me the chance to suggest a better time slot. I will speak to him about this later. Fortunately, it's Sunday, so no having to deal with weekday disruptions. Deke, however, asked me some pertinent questions and was not his formerly antagonistic self regarding the mutt's happy barking. Do you have everyone's approval to let the dogs back inside? Of course not, Deke, I replied with some exasperation. Nobody really talks to me. Nobody talks to anyone there, really. That's just apartment life in America. I can't expect their world to revolve around mine. Anyway, most of the residents adore the pups, and this lawsuit was solely instigated by our senile building manager who's on his deathbed, and I'm surprised he's still hanging in there. What if someone calls the landlord and snitches on you that you're letting the dogs inside again? Yeah, I thought about that, but what can they do? I assured him. There is no law that says I can't sit 2 little pups for a friend now and then each week, and they're no bother to anyone. This is not the same as letting them live with me, which is illegal for single-room occupants. Besides which, the landlord fucked up royally by taking Kevin's word on this matter, and I don't think they want this to backfire on them even worse. As for the dogs barking, I told him they only do this when they're together. They want to defend their home, and everyone's a stranger to them, what with so many different people coming in and out of the building. They don't have a fighting chance to acclimate themselves, or they're just so excitably happy to be visiting me once more. Instead of accusing me of not being responsible enough to train them not to bark, this time around he agreed and said, yeah, they're the same way where I live. They bark and run around for joy, but some folks get some folks there get angry at them. Because they're drama queens, Deke, I replied, always going out of their way to fuck with others and spread misery every chance they get. So he was amicable enough, and I took the pups upstairs one by one. I've since learned that neither pooch will bark when left tethered outside while I bring the first one hovel. Watson wrote, and think of the joy in their little doggy hearts to be back in the sanctuary, even if only for a few minutes. I replied, lights up my heart like a boss. To be continued.